For 10 years, robots were the most amazing things nobody could actually use. They danced, they ran over rocky ground, they opened doors, and yeah, they even did backflips. Real backflips. On camera, watched by millions of people. Then everyone went back to their normal lives, where robots were still pretty much useless for the stuff people actually needed done. The companies building these robots knew that. Making a robot flip through the air and doing a real job in a warehouse are two totally different problems. For years, that gap felt huge. Then something changed. That gap closed fast, and a massive amount of money followed right behind it. The era of the big show. Boston Dynamics is really where the backflip era began. The company started back in 1992, came out of MIT, and was quietly funded by the US military for years. It built robots that moved in ways nobody had ever seen before. Spot, the dog-shaped one, could trot around and climb over things without falling on its face. Atlas, the human-shaped one, could run, jump, and eventually pull off that famous backflip everyone shared online. Here's the thing, though. Those shows were real, and the engineering behind them was genuinely impressive. But moving well isn't the same thing as being useful. Spot could climb stairs and handle rough ground. A security company could buy one and set it to patrol a building at night. But at $75,000 a robot plus ongoing software fees, Spot was a niche tool for a small group of buyers. It wasn't about to replace the millions of people doing repetitive physical work in warehouses and factories around the world. The backflips showed everyone what these robots could do with their bodies. What they didn't solve was the much harder problem. How do you get a robot to actually understand what job it's supposed to be doing and do that job right over and over in a messy, real world? Think about the difference between a gymnast and a factory worker for a second. A gymnast nails one incredible move once under perfect conditions, with everyone watching. A factory worker does the same task 1,000 times a day, in a room full of moving parts and unexpected problems. Robots had already figured out how to be gymnasts. Nobody had figured out how to make the factory workers yet. What actually changed everything? 3 big things happened around the same time, and together, they flipped the whole industry on its head. The first was the AI boom. Large language models, the same technology behind tools like ChatGPT, showed the world that machines could understand context, follow instructions, and make real decisions. Robot engineers saw this coming from a mile away. A robot that could understand language and reason through a task was a completely different kind of machine than one that could only repeat the same programmed motion over and over like a wind-up toy. The second was better motors, called actuators. For years, these things were heavy, power-hungry, and broke way too easily, which is why most factory robots stayed bolted to the floor, locked away in cages, far from any human worker. New, smaller, lighter motors finally made it possible to build robots that could safely work right next to people. The third was computing power. Believe it or not, the processing power needed to run a genuinely smart AI system used to fill up an entire room. Then it shrank to fit in a server rack. Then it shrank again down to the size of a laptop. Now that same processing power, letting a robot see its surroundings, understand what it's looking at, and move its body, can fit right inside the robot itself. And here's the interesting part. None of these 3 breakthroughs happened solely because of robotics research. They happened because completely different fields, language AI, motor design, and computer chips all hit a tipping point at almost the exact same time. Robotics companies just had to be ready to grab all 3 pieces and put them together. Why investors are so excited. Goldman Sachs thinks the humanoid robot market could hit $38 billion by 2035. Morgan Stanley is more bullish, putting the number at a full $1 trillion within 10 years, based on the amount of manual labor in factories and warehouses worldwide. Those numbers sound extreme until you look at what they're measuring. Around 80 million factory workers worldwide perform repetitive, physically exhausting, and sometimes dangerous work. Factory owners everywhere are struggling to find and keep people willing to do that kind of work day after day. So picture a humanoid robot priced somewhere around $30,000 to $50,000, which is the range several companies are actually targeting for their first products. One that can work a full day without a single break, learn new tasks through a simple software update, and handle the exhausting repetitive work most humans dread. That's not science fiction anymore. It's a real engineering target, and several well-funded companies genuinely believe they'll hit it within the next 3 to 5 years. Tesla's Optimus robot is already working inside Tesla's own factories and inching toward full production. Figure AI has teamed up with BMW to bring humanoid robots onto the car manufacturing floor. Agility Robotics' Digit robot is already clocking shifts in Amazon warehouses. 1X Technologies is backed by OpenAI, and Apptronic is working with NASA while exploring its own commercial plans. Every one of these companies is well-funded. Everyone is moving fast, and none of them is spending time on backflips anymore. It's worth pausing here for a second because this matters more than it sounds. Factories and warehouses aren't struggling to find robots. They're struggling to find enough people willing to show up and do exhausting, repetitive work year after year. So a robot that can genuinely step into that gap isn't stealing a job somebody wanted. It's filling a job most people were already trying to avoid. Why the backflips finally stopped. The backflips were really just a way to make a point. They were saying, look what our robot's body can actually do. This isn't a toy. The movement is real. We built something that can genuinely move through the real world. That message mattered a lot back when people doubted robots could move that well at all. Nobody doubts that anymore. So the question has completely changed. Investors, factory managers, and warehouse directors are not asking whether a robot can move well these days. They're asking whether it can actually work. Can it grab the right part out of the right bin and put it exactly where it belongs? Can it adjust when someone rearranges everything around it overnight? Can it work safely next to a human who moves in unpredictable, messy ways? Can it survive a full shift without breaking down halfway through? Can it learn a brand new task in a few hours instead of a few months? None of that has anything to do with how flashy a robot looks in a highlight reel. These are boring, practical, unglamorous questions, exactly the kind a real factory manager asks before signing a purchase order, not the kind that goes viral online. This trillion-dollar shift isn't moving away from impressive robots. It's moving toward genuinely useful ones. The backflips were just proof that the idea could work. The warehouses and assembly lines are the real product now. And this wave of investment is about to reshape manufacturing, shipping, and physical labor in ways those old backflip videos only hinted at. So which industry do you think robots will change first? Manufacturing, shipping, or something else entirely? Drop your answer in the comments and be specific about why. And subscribe, because the next 5 years in robotics will bring more real change than the last 20 years combined.